Hello, 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 and welcome to the BTMS show. How's everyone doing this week? Alrighty, so this is the talk show where we talk to the people of Philadelphia's nightlife scene and LGBT community. And this week we have some great guests to chat with, and I hope you will join us for the next hour or so as we get to know them. So as you may know, this show, we always try to donate to great causes. And this week we are donating to the Black Trans Protestors Emergency Fund. So all of our proceeds tonight will be split between our guests and that emergency fund. So if you're able to, please donate. Our donation information is across the bottom right here and also in the comments of this video. So this week we have two amazing guests. Up first, we have a beautiful trans woman and drag queen who is also apparently a hairdresser, hairstylist. Welcome, Dalyla Mizani Cristal.
Hi.
Hello.
Sorry, no costume, but like get into the clip like it, right? Cool.
You were busy. Like, how are you gonna do your hair and makeup when you're doing someone else's hair?
Right, exactly. See, you get it.
I get it. Well, I mean, somewhat. I don't really get it. And up next, we have an amazing drag performer and creator of the Looks of Club Quarantine, one of the first digital shows that popped up in Philadelphia. Welcome to the stage, Sasha Mawla.
Hi there.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm loving this like bouquet of roses look. So glam. Is it paper?
Yes, it's paper.
Oh my gosh.
Everything.
I made
So
every
crafty.
single flower.
How long did that take?
I did it over a couple of days.
A couple of days. Oh my god, I don't have the patience for that. Like, I can barely sit in a chair and do a makeup look for 2 hours. I'm like, this is taking so long.
Meanwhile, I take like 3 hours, 4.
I like don't give myself that much time. Once I figured out how much time it takes for me to paint my face for like a gig, that's how much time I give myself, like with a little bit of cushion.
I just like to enjoy it and feel the fantasy of it all. So
I think I procrastinate too much, and that's why, because like I could sit there like 3 hours early and just like get going, but I never do it. I never sit down early enough to really just like take the time. Although I did today, actually. Today I sat down, I had no idea what I was doing. I was like, I actually started with a black and white look, and then I fucked up the lines with the black eyeliner, and so I just started smudging it and moving it around and doing some weird stuff, and then
keep it moving.
Here you go.
Keep it moving. Yeah.
My best face is when I give myself enough time to be stoned.
Oh. I feel like for that you need to like give yourself extra time. Like give yourself like a good 6 hours and just start painting real early in the day.
Yeah, like smoke at noon and then start at 1 or 2, something like that.
Oh my gosh, for an 8 p.m. show.
Yeah. And you know what? I always think that I don't need to do that, and then I'm just like, you know what? Maybe I should try it out just one day. You know.
See, but if I ever do that, I wind up like getting to the point where it's like I'm done 3 hours before the show and now I got to sit there and make up with nothing to do.
And you know what? That fucks me up too, because then I'd be like, well, I don't want to leave too early. But then I find something to do in the meantime, and then that shit makes me late. So I'm just like, well, I can't win.
Well,
and I don't do that because I get hungry and I'll eat and mess up.
That's real. That's why I love this lipstick. I'm using Maybelline's Python lipstick. It's 2 pans, and so you use the cream to put a base color, and then you put this like glitter on top of it, and that glitter sets. Yeah. It sets so well. Like I literally ate like a pasta dinner between doing my makeup and doing this, and I did not reapply. So
I have the Beauty Bakery Lip Whip, and those don't budge at all.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like some things like in the same brand are like different whether they budge or not. Like it's hit or miss, like even in the same brand sometimes. But that's why I mostly do mattes, because they don't move. Those matte colors will not move
at all.
Oh my gosh, we got so many comments. Patty says, Dalyla, I love the purple in your hair.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad you can. Oh, shit, you see it. Damn.
I like just saw it now. I didn't notice.
It's in the whole. It's like
Patty's probably like on a huge
give you the back
screen.
then. Do you see it?
Oh yeah, that's cute.
Yeah, pink and blue. It's like pieces from my other projects. You know.
That's honestly the worst thing. Like I when you dye dark hair, it like only shows up under like direct light. And you're like, I want to just like, because I would love to have like purple hair, but I also don't want to dye my hair, bleach my hair first, because I'm like not about that life.
Yeah, I feel you. Like I said, these are just pieces, but I actually lightened this myself.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But like bringing up dark hair is a doozy.
I do not know how to do hair at all. I can't even style a wig. I tried once, and then I had Samantha come help me do it instead. I should probably try it again, though, because that was like my first Halloween after starting drag.
It's not hard. You just have to have patience.
Yeah.
See, that's the problem. I don't have patience.
You know, I would say to anybody who wants to learn, just watch James. She makes it easy for you. Like
James Mansfield?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched her videos.
Yes, it's like if you really want to style, if you really want to learn how to style a wig, and then like on some Miss Fame shit, then watch the Vilbergs. But if you just want to learn how to style something and then go from there, like just watch James.
I've used James's videos for like help with like little things here and there, and they are very helpful because it's like straightforward and simple instructions. But some of the things she does, I'm like, I can't do that.
Yeah,
I've definitely used James, the Vilbergs, Online Kind. So
yeah, I've definitely used the Vilbergs. I've used the Vilbergs videos to style some of Saphira's wigs when I was styling them.
I didn't know you styled wigs until this moment.
I do hair. Like my specialty is weave, but I went to Empire. That didn't last, but I went to Empire. But aside from going to Empire, I've been doing hair since I was 5 years old.
My gosh.
Yeah, my mom still tells everyone the story of how I permed my hair in the dark in a bathroom late at night when I was 2 years old.
My gosh.
See,
when I was the closest I can get to like doing things when I was young like that was I used to take the little putty that you put on the walls like to hang posters and stuff, and I would make like little nails, like acrylic nails out of them. Like I would shape them on my fingernails, and then they would immediately get messed up as soon as they touched each other, or like your
Oh, God.
And I was
crazy.
the little one that drew like dresses all the time.
It's
My
like
God.
you know you're queer when unusual things become fashion.
Yeah. I mean, I could tell you, I always used to like grab a random piece of fabric and like toss it around, walk around.
Same. My first wig was a cardigan. Mm-hmm.
My first wig was a t-shirt. I lifted it up over my head with the little ring around the head and like threw it back.
Oh, I wasn't the only one. What? That's a thing. Oh my
I feel like
God.
that's a thing. Like that's like a bona fide thing, like an actual thing.
I didn't know. Oh my God, I thought I invented that. Like I really would take the t-shirt and then take a string and some barrettes, put it under the t-shirt, and then that was like my little bangs coming down. Like
Yeah.
you couldn't tell me nothing. And then my top knot. What the? Don't. Okay, I was it.
The first time I ever like tried to do the towel wrap on the head, like after seeing like someone in a movie do it, oh my God, I was living. I was all about it.
It is bad. It's a feeling. It's not just a get out of the shower thing. It's a feeling.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what drag is. It's a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Honestly, I would live if someone came on stage and nothing but a towel on their head and like a towel around their body, like no makeup, nothing. Just do it. Like turn it out.
That's my next performance.
Okay, realness.
Please, please,
Talk
please.
about realness.
Category is clothes with Sasha Mawla.
Well, speaking of performing, actually, one of my first questions for y'all is how long have you been performing and how long have you been in the Philly nightlife scene?
You want to go first, Sasha?
Sure. So that's like a double question because I've been performing since elementary school. I also went to theater school in New York City to Marymount Manhattan College. And I was a musical theater major. But for drag, I've only been doing it for 2 years now. A little over 2 years.
Yeah, you started a little before me.
Yeah. But I also take long breaks.
I feel like I do that too. Like sometimes I'm just like, I need a break. Although I did go from like I went from like just starting out to producing shows like pretty much immediately. And I was like, what's a break?
Okay. A boss knows
I just find myself feeling overwhelmed with nightlife sometimes. So I need to step back.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of performers are like a lot more introverted than people would expect. Like we're on stage, but like when we're off stage, we're just like, I just want to like be around my friends and like in a quiet space.
Yeah.
I mean, if anyone's ever like interacted with me, especially backstage before a performance, I'm the quietest. So.
I feel like honestly, like so many performers are like that I wouldn't have even noticed. Like I know that you are a little on the quieter side, but I don't know if I'd say you're the quietest because there's a lot of introverted drag performers.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Dalyla?
Okay. So performing is a wide question. Like I can point out some high school plays and some Glee Club performances, which is how I found out that I couldn't sing worth a lick. But drag I've been doing for 9 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Wow. And my anniversary is my mother's birthday. Oddly enough. And I've been in the performance scene ever since I was 18. I'm 25 now, so 7 years.
And you've been in Philly the whole time?
Mm-hmm.
How have things changed like since you first started?
Well, I would say that first of all, things have come more to light now, as far as the like the cliquey shit and like just like the Black Queen versus White Queen bullshit, but also just aside from that part, as far as performances, I've seen like more performance artists coming out now. I've really felt like we as Philly, we sometimes take our scene from Drag Race, no shade, but also like you come across those queens who want to defy that, and they want to bring up this like other personality, or just really bring issues to the forefront or what have you. So you get a lot of you get a lot of political queens, and you get a lot of performance artists who don't want to be labeled queens.
Yeah, I feel like we definitely have like a strong counterculture in Philadelphia. I think part of that is because like RuPaul kind of like hasn't booked anyone from Philadelphia to be on the show.
Yeah.
Like, because Mimi was not a Philadelphia queen when she was booked on the show, and
New York, yeah.
And Ariel is in South Jersey, not in Philly. Does most of her work in Jersey. So like there really hasn't been like a Philly queen who's been on the show.
Right.
And
I
like,
also just think that Philly and the generation of drag performers that are coming up now are more inclined to think about drag the way it used to be, which is a drag performer is someone who's on a pedestal to talk about certain issues, whereas the drag race people just want to entertain and make money.
yeah, I feel like there is like a I don't know, like a pageant influenced like subsect of performers in Philly that like kind of do follow the traditional like pageant style of drag and like making sure everything is glam, high fashion, padding, big hair, big makeup, all that stuff. But yeah, I kind of like totally understand why there is a strong counterculture in Philly though, because like it's such like a working class city that like, I don't know, I feel like it would be more creative, more weird. Just because of like, the character
Philly's
of the city.
also known as the biggest, poorest city in the country. So,
I mean, and when you don't have money, your drag, you get creative.
It's made out of paper.
Yeah, exactly. Although I do question, like, if you could wear that to a club without it falling apart.
I've actually worn this out before.
And it's still together. That's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Just make sure not to wear it on a rainy day.
No. I usually like travel with it in a bag and then.
Oh my god, yeah, don't even wear it outside.
Yeah.
So how did you get into drag? Because you both mentioned that you were previously performers, but like, what made you like make that leap into drag?
So my first. Oh, you can go, Dalyla.
Well, I remember being inspired. Like, I remember being inspired by RuPaul's Drag Race, like for real. But I just remember, like, you know, wanting to be, like, always wanting to be a dancer, always wanting to have long hair, always wanting to be a girl, really, and just like get that sort of attention from myself. So yeah, that's why I got into drag, and it was actually like getting into drag and finally seeing myself that way that answered a lot of questions for me as far as me being a trans woman.
I feel that drag was definitely like, I can't tell you which came first, my genderqueer identity or my drag, because they're so intertwined.
Mm-hmm.
Like the exploration of gender was definitely part of my drag experience.
Yeah,
what about you, Sasha?
So the first time I did drag, I was 17 and I was Angel in Rent. So that was the first time. But I never thought of it as like a serious thing. Like I loved performing as Angel and doing all that. But when I went to college at Temple, I was a sociology major with a concentration in LGBT studies. And learning about the history of drag performers and trans women of color and everything they did for our community, I really wanted to pay respect for that. And that was around the time when there was so much like racist things happening with eye candy. And I thought it was like time for people to remember that without trans women of color and Sylvia Rivera, who is a Puerto Rican trans woman, we wouldn't have anything.
Yeah, and like looking back, someone pointed out recently that Sylvia Rivera and Marsha P. Johnson were like in their like late teens, early 20s when all this was going on, and I was like, that is mind blowing, but also I totally understand that. Like, you know, like it makes sense if you like really look at it, but it's also kind of mind boggling to think about.
Yeah.
But,
and I literally think about them all the time, like to the point, like I walk into my studio and this is what's here. Like,
yes.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I have a t-shirt that's like, it looks like a stained glass window of Marsha P. Johnson, and it's coming in the mail soon. I can't wait for it to get here. It's I do movie nights for the Mark David Center at CCP, and so one of the movie nights we're doing is the Marsha P. Johnson documentary on Netflix, which I haven't seen. I'm like waiting to see it for this movie night because I want to see it like with a group of people. Oh.
It's good. It's sad.
Yeah, real.
I bet. Liddell
If I
says
can make a
hi.
recommendation, have you ever heard of Before Stonewall?
I feel like I have. I may have seen it.
So there's a documentary called Before Stonewall, and there's one called After Stonewall.
I
Same
need to watch those.
director, and I think they'd be great to show to like a class of people.
I'm putting that on there right now. But oh my God, I've been talking about this. So because it's Pride Month, we've been doing a lot of social media stuff around like LGBT history. And like, I feel like a lot of people think that Stonewall is one of the first big things that happened. And it's definitely a big turning point. But like, when you look at like the Compton cafeteria riots, when you talk about like the marches around Philadelphia's Independence Hall that were the 5 years prior to Stonewall, when you think about Dewey's lunch counter, there's so many other things that happened like before Stonewall that really set the stage for Stonewall.
Mm-hmm. And all the protests in San Francisco and the murder of Harvey Milk and
yeah, that was also like I feel like the murder of Harvey Milk was also like a decade after Stonewall. It was like at least a few years after. So someone the other day tried to say that like on an article posted about like all of the trans women of color who've been like instrumental in the LGBTQ like fight for basic human rights. Someone said, what about Harvey Milk? And it's like, well, first of all, we're talking about all these trans women right now, so you don't need to bring up this random like white dude. But like at the same time, that was 10 years after all this we're talking about right now. But yeah, there's like, I don't know. I feel like the trans community has always been at the forefront of fighting for our community. And like, even with the Supreme Court decision that came down yesterday regarding employment, like the person who sued the government to make that decision happen was a trans woman. And she passed away a month ago before it passed. So she never even got to see the results of all her work.
which is unfortunate.
I mean, it's sad, but like once again, we have a trans woman to thank for our basic human rights.
One step back again.
And then so many people in our community act like trans women ain't shit, and like we can't get like basic human decency from people within our own community sometimes.
Because they don't tell you. And it's crazy that I'm in my 20s and in my mid 20s, mind you, and I'm just finding all this out. But when I was in school, like it was always black me and white me.
Yep,
for real.
Like, I mean, we have to educate ourselves because our school system's not gonna do it.
Well, I mean, like, can you really trust our school system to teach anything besides white supremacy at this point? Like,
nope.
Like, there was that meme about what you learned about Martin Luther King, and it's just like he was peaceful, and then he solved racism, and then he got shot, and now racism's over. It's like it's so simplified, it's so whitewashed. But that's what we learned in K-12 school.
Yeah, that was pretty much my understanding of it.
Oh, Sasha, Samantha says, talk about the performance/competition you used a picket sign for.
Oh, so that was for the first pageant I ever did, which was Vanessa Sterling's amateur drag attack. And the theme for that show was Pride. And I wanted to remember Marsha P. Johnson. My performance that night was actually a spoken word piece that I wrote in honor of the victims from Pulse. So I think that it's important that anytime you have the ability to like say something, you should.
Yeah.
And part of the reason I thought it was important to like showcase Marsha P. Johnson during that time is because at that moment, apparently trans people weren't allowed to be in the amateur show, but I wasn't sure. I know that trans people now do Vanessa Sterling's amateur drag attack.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
I didn't know that shit.
But
no,
like,
I mean, I don't know. I didn't know it for sure.
Let's talk about this though for a second, because like this is like a huge thing that still to this day just boggles me, because there are drag competitions in this country that bar trans men and non-binary people from being in the show and ban women from being in the show, but will allow cis men and trans women. And it's like, I don't know, I feel like the mental gymnastics to say like trans women can be here, but not trans men and not women is like baffling to me, because basically what they're saying is only AMAB people can be drag queens.
Yeah. And
like, therefore they're basically viewing trans women and cis men as the same, which is in itself transphobic. And it's always bothered me because like, if you're putting makeup all over your face, what does it matter what's between your legs?
Exactly.
I mean, but that goes
to
for
me,
RuPaul
drag
too.
is personally about the transformation. So like, as long as you're transforming and making me feel something, do it. I just also want people to know that drag is a queer art form.
Yeah.
And until like, regardless of who does it, you need to like recognize that.
Okay, it's ours.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Trans women invented drag. Like, that it's a trans art form first and foremost. Yep. But like, so many competitions act like cis men are the only like drag queens that are real drag queens.
Drag came from white people telling us we couldn't do pageants.
Yeah, for real.
We'll see.
Yeah, so much of modern drag is influenced by the like black and brown folks who could not be part of the white pageants, who created their own system, which is where ball culture comes from, which I still have not been to a ball and I would really love to go, but I also am not showing up uninvited. So if anyone wants to invite me.
No, you could like if you find one to go to, just have your tickets ready. There's nothing wrong with being a spectator.
Maybe
I mean, the reason I love ball culture is because of all the cultures, they're probably the most welcoming of all people. It can get vicious, like internally, but when it comes to spectators, for sure, they're such an open group.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really like worried about about the group itself, but it more so like I didn't want to invade someone else's space, or like I didn't want to be a tourist in the space by just showing up by myself.
I mean, the thing is, like, a ball loves a spectator. Don't get me wrong, but I say as far as like the ballroom scene is welcoming, but at the same time, you have to earn that welcome. Like, you gotta understand, like the ballroom scene is built up of some people that barely have anything to their name and a family to support them. So they one go out to find family and love, and then they compete to earn respect, and then of course the trophies and the money comes along with it. But yeah, respect, like the respect and the fame is a really big part of it.
Yeah, that's why I appreciate houses so much, a lot more than like drag mothers and like siblings, because houses are family, and they really strive to push each other and are honest with one another. And sometimes with the drag house, it's just like a name.
Yeah, even like I feel like there are some drag houses that really do that, and like some that are just kind of like in name. Like I've been guilty of this too. I feel like when I first started, I was just collecting drag children, but like we didn't really have that kind of like, I don't know. So now like I'm a little bit more selective. Like when I adopt a drag child, it's like because like I took the time to really spend time with them and mentor them, and like, I don't know. I feel like when I was younger, I shouldn't have been mentoring anybody, to be real honest.
I feel you. I'm right there with you. It's like I have a daughter and she's amazing. But you know, like I've come into New Queens asking me if they can take me under their wing, and I'm like, baby, I got so much work to do. Like I can't be sitting up here trying to raise you, and I ain't got shit. So.
And I feel the same way. I've been asked by 2 people about being a drag mother. I'm like, I'm still a baby,
really?
like in a sense, like.
Oh, I didn't let that stop me.
I can't be a drag mother not knowing everything I should know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that's I think what I came to realize was like I was doing. I mean, I feel like there's something to be said about like even as a new performer, like you can definitely help others who are newer than you. But like I wasn't giving anyone makeup advice because I was still so new to makeup myself. But I think there is something to be said about like it's hard to break into a scene when you don't know anybody. And so like when you're new, you kind of ask anybody for help that will talk to you. And so I think that's kind of how you wind up with like children having children, like people who've been doing drag for under a year having drag children.
And I couldn't do that. So, but I appreciate what Sardonyx just they said their drag family doesn't really have a name. It's more of a kinship. Which I think is real.
And we help each other. Yeah, that's what it should be. Sardonyx also said, I would love to do a ball. Oh my God. I would love to see that. I feel like I could literally watch you dance around a space like anytime. Like sign me up, give me some popcorn.
I told Donix they have their category. It's called Bazaar. Like
Oh.
They need to go and they need to walk for them. Like if they if they see it, Sir Donix, you will get house offers down. Like you make your own costumes and your makeup is impeccable. They will want you.
I mean, also if you've ever seen Sardonyx dance around the stage and throw their body across the stage, like they are a performer through and through.
Absolutely.
Patty said, I also wasn't sure if me as a white cis woman would be allowed at a ball. I didn't know we had a ballroom scene here until recently.
Oh my God, the Philly ballroom's huge.
Yeah, I didn't know about Philly ballroom until I met someone in the ball scene like a few years ago. But prior to that, I had no idea.
It's one of the biggest in the country.
There are cis women who compete in ballroom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's called the women's category. In fact, I don't know if you heard, but the new show called Legendary on HBO Max,
House of Ninja.
They're all cis women.
Wait, so what is up with HBO Max? Because I keep seeing these ads for HBO Max, and I've heard about this show, but I have HBO because I use my dad's password for HBO. But he doesn't have Max. Does that mean I can't watch the show unless I buy HBO Max?
Yes.
I don't even have HBO Max, and I can't even watch the show as loyally as I want to because I don't have the connections myself. So, I can't really answer that for you. But I would guess not. I don't know.
No, you can't watch it. You need to have HBO Max or that HBO Go.
Oh, HBO Go works too?
Subscription. Yeah.
Oh, you can't use the regular HBO subscription. It has to be the Max.
Not if the subscription's through your cable provider.
Damn paywalls. Oh, Samantha says that she took a dance class taught by a ninja recently. Legendary.
Oh, really?
Not recent. I added recently. I don't know why my brain does that sometimes. Adding random words. But one thing that Samantha said earlier that I missed was this is why I appreciate Ron Binary and Khaki Capri, who are counterculture artists in a very cis AMAB landscape. Absolutely. The two of them impress me every time. And Khaki also
some of the kindest people.
Mm-hmm.
I also just want to put this out here because Khaki was supposed to be on the show 2 weeks ago, and she messaged me and was like, I feel like coming on your show and having fun right now when all this stuff is going on is not the right move. So please book someone else at this time. Like that's the week that I had Marcha Pisces on. Because Kaki basically said, like, this is not the time for me to be doing this. And like, yeah, like she reached out before I could reach out and say, like, I don't know if I should do this show this week. But she's, I feel like, been consistently like putting people up and like making space for voices that are not normally heard. And I really appreciate her. And she's just a hoot to hang out with. So she'll be on the show later. We have to reschedule, but I'm excited for that show. I even made a flyer for that show. I'm really excited for that one.
I also think it's important for people to realize that this is the time to give to people of color. Mm-hmm. Like, it's important to make those voices heard, because for so long, they're silenced. And I always put this point out that, like, Philadelphia is 60% people of color. Like, we're the majority. Mm-hmm. But most shows are almost 100% white. Yeah.
It's a real problem. I always try to make sure that my casts are diverse, and not like in a quota way or anything, but it's more of like, if I have mostly white people applying to be on the show, did I post it in the right places? Did I reach out to people? Did I like personally reach out to individuals and say, like, I would love you to apply for this show? Like, what can I do to make sure that my shows are not completely whitewashed? Because I think like there's also like something to be said about like, I said like 15 times, but there's something to be said about the different circles that people run in, and like which Facebook groups people find casting calls at, which producers they feel comfortable with, which types of casting calls they're going to respond to. And I think that a lot of that needs to be looked at if you're producing a show that you want a diverse cast, to make sure that you don't have a homogenous voice.
And I think as a producer, it's important to take that into account, especially when you're thinking about performers of color coming to you. If they don't feel comfortable coming to you or applying for a show, what actions were you taking in the past for people to feel that way now?
Yeah. And here's another thing that people like don't really seem to understand. Just because you say you're sorry and you've worked on being better and like doing more doesn't mean that people are going to instantly forgive and forget and like be okay with everything again. So I think like people need to understand, like, if you did something problematic in the past and people of color don't want to work with you, like, you're going to need to do some trust building and reaching out and like making an effort to do something different if they're going to feel comfortable again. Mm-hmm. But people think like, well, I apologize and I don't do that anymore. It's like, well, is that enough? Is that really enough of a change for someone to feel comfortable coming on your show?
Yeah, and as a community as a whole, we revert back to the same producers, the same everything. Like, how are we going to make any change if it's always the same people?
I mean, and part of that is like relationships with venues. Like, the producers that have the ability to do great shows are the ones who have relationships with venues. And so if someone's been in the city for 10 years and has been working with different bars and venues and have been producing their own shows and booking themselves, you can't really cancel them because they hold the keys, you know? You can't lock them out of the house when they have the keys.
Yeah. We need to make some new doors.
Yeah, for real. I mean, I've tried producing in random places and some of them are like, it's hard to get people out to a new location because people like, I mean, I feel like this is part of the queer community in general. If you invite people to a new space, they need to know, like, is that space safe and accepting and welcoming? And that's for most marginalized communities. So like, if you're producing a show in a new space, you need to not only just promote the event like you normally would, you need to like make people feel like that's a safe place for them to go and like kind of vet the venue in advance.
Yeah, and I think absolutely people would travel to go to a new venue if they feel like it's worth their time.
I never
Like-
even felt home at Voyeur until Black Girl Magic.
Yeah, I like actually. I don't know. I feel like Voyeur is still a rough one. Like that's part of the. I want to support Black Girl Magic, and I have supported Black Girl Magic, but I always have a problem setting foot in Voyeur based on their past behaviors. And so part of me also like wonders like when shows like that happen, like who's getting the money, because I've gone to shows at venues that I don't like because I know that the producer was getting all of the door and I wasn't going to buy any drinks. But if the bar is getting a cut of the producers of the door and stuff, like it's also like you're giving money to this problematic bar, because before Eye Candy, we were boycotting Woody's.
Mhm.
They happened around the same time, but there was about a week there where it was like boycott Woody's, and then all of a sudden it was boycott Eye Candy. In addition, but
Yeah,
I feel
Woody's
like
was for the urban wear.
yeah,
the
and like
Timbs.
what happened with that energy? Like I feel like that like did Woody's really take steps to make amends, or did people just kind of give up on them?
No, I don't think that Woody's actually did it, but Woody's is the only place that has like hip hop night or like a room dedicated to hip hop music. They have a Latin night. So they at least have spaces for people of color to feel comfortable. Whereas the other bars and clubs don't. I mean, Jocks now and most recently when it was Boxers had the Latin Heat night.
Yeah.
And if you go during those nights, they're packed.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the other thing that's like really frustrating is like producers put on these fantastic events and pack these venues, and those venues make so much money and they don't always give budgets. Like some of these venues won't even give a budget. So it's like, wait, I packed your house. Like we brought in like almost 100 people and you made probably thousands of dollars in bar, but we're barely paying our performers because you didn't give us a cut of that bar or like a percentage or even like a budget.
Mm-hmm.
And so not only finding bars with those relationships, but like finding bars who are willing to put up money is few and far between.
No, I definitely understand that. And I saw that when I did my event at Taboo, where like we raised almost $20,000 in one night. So it's like I know there's potential for money to pay your artists and pay everyone, and obviously that was a special circumstance because it was a fundraising event.
Yeah.
But that was still $20,000.
Yeah, I mean, the bars are not like losing out money with the amount of drink sales they're getting. Like, I mean, maybe some of them are, but like if you pack the house and everyone's drinking, that bar is making money. And I feel like it's about like, do we value the art of our performers?
Exactly. And too often I feel like I have to be on stage and look a certain way. And I'm made to feel that way by the community as a whole. But the community doesn't give back to us.
Let's talk about that for a second, because I also feel like there is like this pressure to look at, and like if you do your drag a certain way, you kind of get boxed into that way of doing it, and people don't want to see new things or different things. Like I feel like sometimes I don't want to do like a full drag look. I want to do something a little bit more subdued or a little bit more like gender bendery, but people like expect you to do the full drag looks with big hair, big makeup, big like costuming. So like how do you kind of deal with those expectations?
You know what?
Dalyla can start.
I don't even. I really don't know if I have yet. To be honest with you, turn this way. Only because one, I will say, when I dropped weight, a lot of people, or not a lot of people, but some people stopped supporting me. Like some, and I won't name them, but some of the supporters that were really behind me when I was like big and moving, stopped supporting me. They pointed out that I got too skinny, in fact. And then I feel like I've explained to people a bunch of times that I wear sneakers because of like not only because of hip hop dancing, but the culture, but the culture of hip hop, which I really respect. And I feel like people still are just like, well, she's a girl, so she should do a lot more than these guys. And I'm just like, goddamn.
But like, speaking of shoes, like, I don't really wear ridiculous heels because I have bad knees. So like, I really can't. And also I wear a size 14, so I can't always find a nice heel that doesn't hurt my legs. But like, the expectation is that you always have like 4-inch heels and giant hair and big over the top costumes sometimes, I feel.
And I like, and I don't. So I feel like sometimes I just don't know if people are nitpicky with me because I'm a girl or because I'm black, even though I know it's both. But I don't know. I just don't know. I can't really put my finger on it. But I'm just like, but y'all don't talk to anybody else about this. Nobody. Like, even down to padding, I've been like crucified for that.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, I feel like there's a double standard. Like, as a bigger queen, I am expected to do certain things that, like, I've seen very skinny queens not wear any padding and just do their own thing. And if I don't wear padding, people call me out on it. And it's like, you didn't say anything when this skinny bitch was not wearing any padding. Like, what the hell? Well, it's different because they're skinny like a fashion model or whatever. They don't say this, of course, but like, that's what it is.
Of course, it's what it is.
What about you, Sasha?
I mean, I look at it in the way that when I'm on stage, I feel this pressure to look so polished and put together. And like, part of that's my own. Like, I pressure myself. But also, I'm like, I want to get tips. I want to get money. I want to entertain and send my message. And I'm up there looking polished, and I just see people like not applauding. So that I generally only like go to shows where I know that the audience is great. Like, I love house, and I love the counterculture show. But if this is like who show, like, I would never go to a Bev show. Like, her
it's a different audience, yeah.
It's
well, that's it. I think like a lot of like, Bev is very polished. Like, Bev has the big hair, the big costumes, and I feel like her audience is also a lot of people who like watch Drag Race and are like more mainstream. So like, if you go to that crowd and you're like, I am gonna do this activism number, they're gonna be like, what the hell? Which is really a shame because that's what drag is.
I mean, the reality is that Bev's audience is white cis, and that's what they want to see on stage.
That's also fair.
And because you can't say, I don't get on stage and look polished.
Yeah.
Like, I know I do.
Oh, that absolutely. Like, I didn't mean to insinuate. You definitely do, but I feel like anytime messages get political, those audiences get uncomfortable sometimes. And it's like, but that's what drag is. Like, drag is inherently political. Like, putting on a dress as an AMAB person is inherently political. I feel like I can't walk down the street without getting harassed wearing a dress, even if I have nothing else on. Like, no makeup, no over-the-top stuff. Actually, I feel like in drag, I'm less likely to be harassed than just presenting as genderqueer or non-binary.
I can see that, yeah.
Because people like understand what a drag queen is. To an extent.
Whereas I've been like fiddling with the idea of wearing makeup just like with my facial hair. And it like scares me.
Which we did get a comment earlier. It's living for the facial hair. Pretty sure that's for you because I always have the facial hair. Samantha says, I did an Ariana Grande show for Josh and did an activist number, and it was not the tea for white people, LOL.
It's never the tea.
It is never.
Yeah. Oh, and then Gabe.
Did he just tell white people that Ariana Grande is also white?
That's true too. She's Italian. But Gabe sent us this paragraph. It says, your approach towards people of color matters greatly. It comes down to what are your intentions. If it's just optics, I take great issue with that. I think you need to take a whole step back, check yourself, and try again. If it's to actually elevate voices from communities of color, then okay, let's talk.
And that's the truth. I see that with a few people of color who often defend the white performers who like help them. But as a person looking into that relationship, I see their relationship as tokenizing a person of color.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'll never question someone's like friendship like that because I don't know what happens behind closed doors. But like, there's definitely people who come across as disingenuous and like feel like they're doing it for the wrong reasons. And I feel like there's also some people who like are doing it for the right reasons, but don't have the language to like articulate why they're doing it and then step in it and put their foot in their mouth. And like, I think that's part of like, I don't know, when I'm talking to someone who needs to be educated on diversity issues, regardless of what marginalized group we're talking about, the effort that I put into it, and if I'm going to actually make an effort to educate that person, really depends on how open they are to listening to criticism and listening to what they can do better.
Mm-hmm. Definitely understand it. I just think that more people need to listen. Ultimately.
Mm-hmm. Let me tell you, when I was in college, I talked a lot all the time. And like, if you think I talk a lot now, I've learned to listen and like not monopolize conversations a lot more than I used to. And like, part of that is being socialized as a white man, like, and being taught that my voice carries impact and weight and deserves to be heard.
Absolutely. It took me a long time to feel confident enough to speak about certain issues. I always felt like it was a hindrance if I spoke out about something I saw. Like it wasn't my place. And I should just be happy where I am. And I'm not like that anymore.
I mean, the reality of it is you can face consequences for speaking up and saying something.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And I don't know if this is true or not, but I think because I am vocal about how I feel about things, I don't get booked as much, or I don't like socialize with as many performers, except that core group.
Yeah. I feel like also a lot of people like book their friends.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like probably a diversity problem also. Like it's like if you have all white friends and you have an all white show, like maybe it's because you're only booking your friends and you need to branch out and meet new people.
Exactly. I've said this once, that if I can scroll through your social medias and it takes me more than 6 months of photo to see a white person, a person of color, then you need to branch out more.
Absolutely.
I know people want to blame it on my tardiness for not booking me, but I know it's not because of that. Because I've made it to plenty of shows on time, and when I am there, I am the favorite amongst the white girls. So I can't even tell you why. I can't even tell you why I haven't been booked. But I'm really taking today's events and just learning. Like I'm just learning everything, like about history, about what I'm to do now, and how I'm to handle the drag scene going forward. Because my sisters did enlighten me on some shit that I've been blind to, and you know, it's just I didn't know our drag scene was this crazy. Like, other than the shit that I've heard on Facebook from white girls being petty.
And I do love when people talk about like calling out microaggressions and like shitty behavior as like petty drama. And it's like, oh, it's just all this drag drama. It's like, no, we were calling out transphobia, actually. No.
Okay, yeah.
But like, oh, sure, it's just drama. Well, so we're actually past an hour at this point. So I'm going to start wrapping up and open it up to any questions. If you have questions, please pop it in the comments and we'll bring it up. I'm going to take a few more or however many we get. And then remind everyone at this time that our donations tonight are being split between our guests and the Black Trans Protestors Emergency Fund. So if you are able to, please donate. But yeah, like one last question for the both of you. What do you do to take care of yourself when all of this stuff gets overwhelming? Like what is your like escapism moment, like to just kind of like unplug and unwind?
I have remixed, remastered, and redesigned all of my wigs since this quarantine started. I have so much hair. I have so much hair to wear for summer, for drag, and everything. And I've almost finished this weave about, so yeah. Hair, just doing hair. That's all I've been doing.
And I think for me, it's just doing makeup and remembering the people that actually care about me. And like really reaching out to those people. Like, these are hard times, but there are good people. And we need to remember that as well.
Sasha, please paint me. Please paint me for something. Like, seriously.
I'd love to.
Like, your makeup is so soft.
Sometimes.
No, but like.
Oh.
Something
Dalyla,
happened.
you still there? We'll bring up this next question and hope that Dalyla's camera gets fixed in the meantime. What are some shows or events that are accessible to POC? Oh,
your mic is
mic's not working.
So any show I ever produce in the future will definitely be accessible to POC. Black Girl Magic, obviously. Ariola Grande had a show that was Latin based, Noche de Reinas. There is a burlesque show. What is it called? At Frankie Bradley's.
Oh. What is it called? I'm blanking on the name too. Wepa, yeah. There's actually two of them. There's also one that's, I believe there's an all black burlesque show that happens at Frankie Bradley's too, but I can't remember the name of it.
Is it Queen of Hearts show?
I don't think so. I think maybe it was. I'm not sure who produced it.
Here I am. Sorry about that.
You're back. So the question we got from Samantha was, what are some shows or events that are accessible to POC?
Accessible?
Yes.
Like as far as performing?
I think performing or audience.
Oh, Black Girl Magic, of course, although I'm sure y'all talked about that already.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know Black Girl Magic. Oh my God, Sankofa House host
anything.
Yes.
Anything.
So,
there.
Parties like
anything Icon does, really.
Literally, and honestly, that's an answer right here. Anything Icon does is accessible to PLC.
Which, speaking of which, if you are free after this, watch Icon's show, Ebony's Confessions, which will be on at 9:00 after this show on Icon's page.
And that show is a hoot.
Yes,
everyone
that show.
Watch that show.
I'm gonna plug in and watch this show. Like sometimes I don't because after my show, I'm getting everything off and like just kind of, and then I join the second half. One show that I always watch every week is the Black Diaries on Vinchel's page. Like we were talking about this a little earlier. Like Dalyla was on that show. Like that show, it feels like
I'm on next week. Tune in next week.
Next week, yes, and tomorrow. Like honestly, just subscribe to Vinchel's page and watch all the shows. Vinchel's birthday show is tonight too. I almost considered canceling this because I didn't want to compete with Vinchel's birthday because I wanted to watch that. But Black Girl Diaries, it like feels like you're talking with your best friends like on Skype, like or on Zoom.
It's so good.
I like literally was pacing around my kitchen watching this and just like listening to everything. Like I honestly felt like I was on a phone call with my best friends.
And it's important. If you call yourself an ally at this time, then it is a must watch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like Vincel's been doing the work for so long. Mm-hmm. Like Vinchel has been doing this work before like any of the current protests. Like she like started Black Girl Magic over a year ago. Mm-hmm. And I feel like she's gotten like a reputation sometimes for being like outspoken or difficult, but like I've literally seen her have challenging conversations, and she is like the epitome of professionalism. And she will call out shit and she will say shit, but like she does it in a way that calls people in and like really makes it known. I have so much love for Vinchel.
I just feel like anytime a person of color makes a white person uncomfortable, they're labeled as difficult.
Yes. And
that's
like
literally what it is. And
also like if someone says something extremely racist, why do you have to respond super polite and nice about it? Like, why can't you respond with anger? Like, why is that not valid? Mm-hmm. But I'm not even going to go into this because Vinchel has talked about this, I think, every single week on the Black Diary. So watch the Black Diaries tomorrow night on Vinchel's page.
I also wanted to plug Melangerie.
That was the one I was thinking of.
With Jada.
Yes.
I love Jada so much. So.
And then Bretso says Sophie Sucre produced A Great Day in Burlesque at Frankie. No, that's the one I was thinking of. That was a great show at Frankie Bradley's. And then the one you just mentioned is at
Melangerie.
Melangerie is at Taboo.
It started at Frankie Bradley's and then it moved to Taboo.
Okay. Which nothing really matters. Everything's closed at this point. But said A Great Day in Burlesque at Frankie Bradley's. She won a Golden Tassel John Award for it. It was a one-time show, and I hope she produces another edition and continues it. Yes, I hope that happens again because I was unavailable that night. I think I had another gig that night, and I really wanted to go. So if you know Sophie, please encourage her to do it again once we are able to have shows again. Alrighty, well, I think that's all the time we have for today. Is there anything you would like to share with the audience or anything you'd like to plug before we go?
Ooh, in a second.
So I just like to share that during these times, we need to keep up the momentum. Like everyone that's watching this show is probably queer of some sort. And our rights were started by riots. So we have to like support the Black Lives Matters movement, the trans movement right now, everything, and keep up the momentum.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And right now, standing up for trans women is just as important.
Absolutely.
To stand up for Black men. But of course, I'm on the bias team in saying pink, white, and blue first. Okay, just saying.
Yeah, I mean, there was yet another trans woman murdered in Philadelphia in the past week, and I was at the I will say I was at the protests on Saturday, and Dominique Fells' name came up a few times, but I feel like this is someone who died in our city in the last week. I feel like her name should be a lot more prominent than it is in these protests. And I understand that she didn't die from police brutality, but like that's still an anti-Black crime. Like a black woman died.
I mean, not to make the because I haven't really read the story, to be honest with you, and I am going to give it a look. But I can assume that she was killed by a man, probably Black, which is sad. But and that's why I said I'm on the bias of trans women first, because I definitely didn't see anybody marching for Remy.
Yeah. I mean, I did see people marching for Remy. I saw a few signs with Remy's face on it. I saw one with like a very like detailed artist rendition of Remy's face. It was beautiful.
Okay, good. Just checking.
But I feel like it wasn't enough. Like her name was chanted a few times. But I think it was like really trans people like pushing her name out there and be like, "What about Remy?" Like,
yeah, I'm about to say because I didn't see it because I didn't hear about it because I must because I will admit I am one of the ones like I am an inside protester, but it's like I've seen some of the creative things they came up with for Black Lives Matter. I've seen the dildos. I've seen the black dildos at the protest, but. If I didn't see any pictures of Remy sign or on Getty's Images on the Facebook page,
yeah,
then I haven't seen enough coverage.
yeah. I mean, like even if you account for photographers' bias and what they're taking pictures of, like if there was enough signs, like they would be caught in some photos.
Exactly. Exactly. Oh, and also, can I show off my I didn't know we would be talking while I was doing it. I'd actually be done. So can I show off my work?
Yeah,
Okay.
please. Let's end on a good note because that was a little bit like it's depressing, but it's real. But let's end on a happy note. Like, let's see this.
Yes,
please. So good.
So my beautiful mother of trans experience. She is rocking a 24-inch.
Let's do this. Let's
frontal sew-in. I lifted it myself. I lifted it into a whatever this chestnut brown color is. I'm not good with coming up with fancy names. And this is a deep wave, just something nice and curly. It's for the summertime. It's hot girl summer, so you know.
Oh yes, I don't even wear wigs in the summer. Like I won't. Honestly, all summer I'll just be wearing hats and little clip-ins and things because I do not do hair in the summer.
Okay, what lace? Okay,
what lace?
My gosh,
I just fleeked. You know. Well, you know what I'm saying. We out here. We out here. We do this.
Yes.
Since I was 5 years old, playing with Barbie.
I still can't get over that. 5 years old. That's so young.
Oh yeah, I love her.
Alrighty. Well, on that note, thank you all for joining us. It's been great chatting with you. Thank you in the audience for joining us. We'll see you next week at 7:30 on Tuesday. Have a good one. Bye.
Bye.